Like to improve your game? Hey, Gary Peterson here from squashanalysis.com and welcome to our podcast, Squash Addict. I'd like you to do one thing for me, and that's take a look at your outcomes. It could be your shot, your power, or even your target outcomes, and ask yourself, is there a better way? Well, we're very, very confident that we've got the latest and greatest, the best methods in the world. And this very much could be one of them. So sit back, enjoy, let's get into it. Hey, thanks for joining us today. Gary Peterson here from squashanalysis.com on another podcast. Now, I've had a couple of people talk to me about the forehand drive and pronating your forearm to get racket head speed. And today we're going to talk about that in a little bit of detail, just so you can get your head around what's right and what's happening in the world of squash today. Remember, everything that we do, we try and work on cutting edge hitting methods. So that means the latest things that are happening out there in the world. And the reason is that why it's changed so much is the fact that the rackets have changed. And the balls have changed for that matter, and so on as well. So what happens is years ago, there's a funny story. I fronted up to play a comp match, and the guy I had to play knew that he was most likely not going to win. So he's fronted up and he's offered me a racket, which was one of the old rackets, one of the old wooden rackets. And I thought, this is pretty cool. I can have a crack at this. And I jumped on the warm-up and I started swinging the racket around and so on. And I could not believe just how difficult it was back in the day. In other words, when I was young trying to come through. So I don't even realise, I don't even know why I'm still playing. That's how bad the rackets were. They were horrific. They were terrible. They vibrated. It was just shocking. Now, to put that in context, this is me, who is now a quite accomplished player, has got trained muscles, that I know the technique, I know what I'm doing, I know how to generate power, I know the connection points in the body and the biomechanics and everything. And yet, when I swung this wooden racket, I've got to tell you, it was one of the worst feelings of a strike of the ball that I've ever had in my life. So that's basically where it's all at with technology and how things have changed. Now, that's really, really important, because a lot of people are still trying to use the old methods of hitting and trying to get a good result out of, let's say, while not taking into consideration that rackets have changed dramatically. We're talking seriously changed. The power in the rackets today is phenomenal. And I remember the generation, or the change from a wooden racket to a graphite racket. There was a racket called the head racket. I can't remember what it was. It was a black thing. But it was just like giving somebody an unbelievable advantage over their opponent. Like, it was phenomenal, the difference. And anybody that had one of these rackets had more power, more control, used less energy, and it was just phenomenal, the outcomes that they could get. And so what I'm saying is the rackets have changed so much that if you're still swinging the racket the way you used to, then you've really letting yourself down with what you can basically attain. There's so much that you can do if you understand that the power in the racket can be used for, I'll say, this is quite a funny saying, for good instead of evil. So instead of trying to sling the thing as fast as you possibly can and get those power drive like you wouldn't believe, if you use the power in the right ways, as in to push the ball down the back with minimal swing but really strong muscle strength and so on, then you can get the outcomes which are very similar to what we used to get back in the day. So having said all that, pronating your forearm. There's a few things that are really, really bad with it. Now, pronating, for those that don't understand what it is, it's if you bring your elbow through to your hip and then you turn your wrist over so that the racket head drops over. And that's a pronation. That's the movement of your wrist or your forearm, which gives a racket head speed through the ball. Now, we don't really want to do that, and there's a reason for that, in that it turns the racket face over on the follow through. So when you follow through, it basically turns the racket over. So it's not a good thing for you at all. And the finish up is that you tend to drag the ball down, and your connection point is not really clean and not really good. So what we want to profess is that you actually keep your racket face open on the follow through. So if you can keep your racket face open on the follow through, what that does is it gives you a real quality directional hit, so you can actually place the ball exactly where you want to. Now, you need to understand that it starts from your prep when you take your racket back. So the less you can flick your racket round, the more you can control your racket. And when you get just prior to the point of impact, then you can make sure that you don't pronate, that you go and push your wrist out towards the front wall ever so slightly and keep the racket face open on the follow through. It's extremely, extremely, extremely important. And I see so many kids and so many people that they just try and get that body turn and that wrist push across their body to get the power. And it's just not a good thing at all. You really, really need to make sure that you just keep your racket base open on the forehand drive and almost push out and point in the direction that you hit the ball while you learn, and that will actually get the feeling. And if you get the feeling, then you'll start to understand exactly what I'm saying about how good it is and what the outcomes you can get. So that's where we need to be. I've got a little trick for you, and this is one that I use in coaching, and it's really, really good. The benefits of it are fantastic. And so what I want you to do is to put this is only a experiment is the best way I can put it. So I don't want you to hit like this all the time, but this is an experiment. So I want you to put your left hand out at 45 degrees to your body as you face the side wall lining up for a forehand drive. So your left hand is literally out at 45 degrees hip height. So then when you swing, I want you to swing, have your prep as you normally would, but finish your racket with your two wrists together. Okay, now what that does, it takes out body turn. Now when you do that, it means you'll also not pronate your wrist at the same time, so you'll keep your racket face open. So if you do this a little bit and you understand that you don't need to flick through, and as long as you keep your muscles strong, that means keep your core muscles strong, keep your arm muscles strong, keep your wrist muscles strong, don't move your wrist too much. Once you put all that together, then you'll understand that the outcome that you get is pretty phenomenal in what it does. It actually adds a little bit of punch to your drive as well, which is a good thing. And we'll probably talk about this in a few other podcasts and so on as well. It's a really wonderful experiment that I get people to do, and I get them actually to revisit this from time to time as well, so they can get the feeling of what they need to do to get the outcomes they want. So once you do that about 5 or 6 times, then you can take your left hand out of there, but try and finish in the same place, but with an open face. And you must have an open face. So if you can generate to an open face, get rid of pronating your forearm so you finish across and up, and then what will happen, you'll get a seriously consistent forehand drive. You may lose power ever so slightly until your muscle strength kicks in your forearm and in your core muscles and everything as well, but once it does, it'll open up a world of opportunity for deception and for control, which was just dynamic and fantastic. So there you go. That's our little podcast today on pronating your forearm and whether it's a good thing, bad thing, or whatever for your forehand drive. I believe it's not a good thing. All through Asia, they actually keep the racket face open. They follow through with an open racket face, and they get amazing good quality tightness down the wall. So it's a really great thing to do. So it's an open face forehand we want. We want to get rid of pronation. We want to finish with an open face to the roof, so that the racket is very much open. You would almost put the ball on the face of the racket so it doesn't fall off when you finish, is what we're talking about. So there you go. Put all that together and have a crack at it. Get rid of the pronation of forearm in your forehand drive. Use muscle strength to get your power, and you'll get direction, quality. You'll get the whole lot, and it's all there. So don't forget that we've got in excess of 1,600 videos online at the moment, so things are really developing. We've got our Squash Academy resource, which is fantastic, and it's just phenomenal, and that's how I coach my juniors these days. So we've got a fair bit going on the site, and we're really there to help all those members that haven't yet done it. If you want to send in your video, the personal video analysis is just phenomenal, and it's pretty much a exact direction that you need to go to improve whatever swing you send in. So if you send in your forehand drive, well, that's what you'll get. You'll get an exact plan to improve your forehand drive with video in slow motion, lines on the screen, and me talking. And you'll probably get sick of me talking after a while, but you'll get over it. That's all there. So there you go. We've got plenty online, plenty going on, and we'll continually to develop this, so it just becomes a fantastic resource for you to improve your game. So thanks for listening, and I hope you actually learned something that actually has a positive impact on your game. You know, so many times I get people come to me and go, I cannot believe that nobody else is telling me this stuff. Well, this is basic knowledge and everybody should know everything that we teach. If you can do us a favour, and that is share this with your friends, tell others about it, and if you want to check out a little bit more about what we do and how we do it, the videos, we have over 1,600 videos online at squashanalysis.com. Anyway, thanks again.